focus on development with this particular variation, and you only do queen to b6 when the pressure gets, when everything has been resolved, all the potential has been resolved on the king side, so there are no g4s anymore, and then you can kind of start working on targeting d4. So interesting battle. I love the mind games. Shall we take a pause from this one and go back to our beautiful bird's eye? Bird's eye view, and I'm also looking at these type of positions. So queen to b6 did come, but not in the fashion that we were predicting. We were thinking that black would just go bishop e7, castle kingside, and then icing on the cake, put your queen on b6. But Pentalo is asking the question now, like, how are you going to defend d4?
Yeah, that's a question often received by advanced French players. That is the bane of white's existence. Queen b6 is a novelty. I'm just quickly looking up the position. Still some games, some recent games. Krikor has had this position once recently against Sigurov. But yeah, typically black has put the emphasis on completing the queenside development. So I'm seeing bishop e7 instead bishop b4. Queen b6 makes sense. Uh, is black actually threatening to take on d4? I think so. So one very important point, Yobi, and this is perhaps one of the reasons why king h1 is such an effective prophylactic move. I'm expecting bishop e3 here, but let me just pass with a move like a3. Which knight does black take the pawn with? It's not knight f takes d4. This loses the game. After bishop b3, you see the effectiveness of king h1. These two moves do not come with a check, and bishop c5 always runs into knight a4, or even potentially b4, but I would prefer knight a4. And black's position collapses like a house of cards. However, black can play knight c takes d4. And after knight takes d4, the queen recaptures. White will not have sufficient compensation for the pawn. Therefore, Yovi, Gukesh is taking his time. Bishop e3, what else is on the menu? Could he be contemplating starting with knight a4? What catches your eye? You're an expert in these types of structure.
What catches my eye? Well, well, you're causing me to blush,
What doesn't
Danya,
catch
because
my eye?
the move that I want to play is g4.
Oh.
Yeah,
Ah.
I don't want to be going knight to a4, although that was my first instinct, but because in the commentator's booth you can basically suggest the wackiest things, and we have the power of take back. So yeah.
No, that's got to be what he's thinking about, because there's no knight h4 anymore, and knight f takes d4 is the wrong knight, and it will be good knight after bishop e3. No, this is absolutely what's on the radar for Gukesh, because bishop e3, it's old reliable, right? You know that this is a safe move, but it's also a boring move, and it gives the black knight an out. Or like Harikrishna could play bishop e7, and anytime you play g4, black could bail out with knight takes d3. So it might be a tiny edge here for white, but nothing major. Gukesh would like to squeeze more out of the opening, especially given that he's playing a French and he's got a personal grudge against this opening after the World Championship match.
Yeah, that's I agree with you. Bishop e3 is a kind of like your old faithful that you kind of just simply play the game in a very harmonious way. It's much more positional, because then you just switch tack into playing things like, bishop e3, knight a4, rook c1, and then just take control over the c5 and just argue the bishop on d7, my friend. Where is it going? What kind of life does it have? And then you let them deal with that. If you also wanted to play positionally, you could also go knight a4 and try to do the same thing as well. But for me, being a cave woman, first move, g4. Sorry.
Like it, I need no convincing. I would love to see that pawn. And we've had 2 black pawns on G5. It's time that, one of the players, the white pieces, really showed their nerves of steel, showed their nerves of Tata steel. But Gukesh is down on the clock, and Harikrishna is such a nightmare pairing. He's technically under 2,700, right? It's so easy to just, old and washed. No, no, wait a second. This guy was 2,760. He's got years and years of experience. He's beaten just about everybody on the circuit. And this is the kind of guy who can play like a perfect game whenever he reaches a structure that's familiar to him. And I think he's gotten a structure that he's comfortable with. He's playing fast. I really like Hari Krishna's chess. Just such a great mentor to the younger generation of Indian talent. This guy isn't even 40 yet, so let's not pretend he's signing up for the retirement home. I
No.
think chess players have a tendency to overstate the case here. Like he's walking with a cane. I mean, he's like 38, still has a couple of good years ahead of him.
You just reminded me of this thing that where they asked some like 5-year-olds to envision the future when they were 40, and they were like, yeah, when I'm 40 I'm going to be walking with a walking stick. They're going to have to help me, I'm going to have gray hair. Yeah, it's not quite like that, but it's an interesting thing about chess. Like age must count for something, right, when it comes to chess, like in terms of pattern recognition, in terms of nerves? I mean, what would you say is the major benefit to getting older?
I think it's just the pressure is kind of lifted. You feel like you've gone through the motions so many times. You've literally been everywhere. You've played every one of these super tournaments a bunch of times, and you have this benefit of, okay, the pressure's now on the younger generation to prove themselves. You can just sort of sit back and enjoy yourself, and that can be a very powerful driving force. We saw Hikaru benefiting from that, right? You feel like you don't have as much to prove. The spotlight is off you, and that can be a really, really good thing. Well, the spotlight is off Pentala. He literally got up. He's like,
Black is holding.
so Bishop D3 was played. We considered this move. Apparently, Knight A4 was better. Knight C7, excellent recognition by Hari Krishna. Cannot afford to vacate F5. That is uh, integral to Black's defensive construction. Bishop G7, Knight A4 was played. Queen D6, and apparently Gukesh missing the train here. Knight C5 was natural. Instead, he played B4 trying to set it up, but too many hands spoiled the broth. B6 by Hari Krishna. B5 by Gukesh. Okay, where's he going with this? I have a feeling he might put a knight on C5 anyway at some point.
Well, that would certainly be spectacular if it did. But okay, so first up, Black has the choice to open up the B line with A takes B5 or just go A5. Yeah, you and I instinctively like close it up.
Hmm.
Do not let the white rook on B1 start sniffing around the action anytime soon. So that's it. Knight C5 is not
No,
possible because of knight takes bishop.
I'm good at sacking other players' pieces. I'm not good at following up with logical ideas. But here's the thing, Yovi. Okay, Queen D2. I thought, oh, that's his idea. He wants to go Bishop F4, but Bishop F4 isn't really a threat because Black can meet it with E5. So you don't necessarily need to play Knight takes 3. Maybe it's a reasonable move. I don't know. But even if Black castles, like even this is not unthinkable. Although I would be very scared of leaving the H5 pawn unattended, and I wouldn't be wouldn't be shocked if Gukesh fakes him out and plays Queen back to D1 and says, "JK, you can't uncastle." That would be kind of a mind trip. But
Yeah, that.
what a complex position. When I think complicated position, if you had to represent that pictorially, like this is a complicated position, folks.
I couldn't agree with you
Hmm.
more. I mean, the reason why it's so complicated is primarily because there's no easy point to attack. Yeah, if black castles kingside, then suddenly it's like, oh yeah, I have a plan. You can just attack h5. And if black doesn't do that and just Wait, you're suggesting rook c4. Now that
I want
is
the Trojana exchange sacrifice.
wow. That is such a classy move. Okay, let's
Ah,
put it
I
on the
can
board.
spoil my. Come on. So obnoxious, Eva. All right, I set this up with all the fanfare, interrupt your train of thought just to propose a losing move, and it has to
Okay,
rub it all over my face how losing it is.
no, okay. But let's have a look at why this is losing because bishop takes rook.
Wow, it's not bishop takes rook. Okay, so I feel partially redeemed. The reason is bishop f4 first. Now it seems to play into black's hands. But the problem is after d e f e, suddenly bishop takes c4 is much scarier because d takes c4 walks into the queen trade, and the whole point of the sack is to keep the center closed. When the center opens up, the fact that you have one rook and your opponent has two becomes a little bit more significant.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, but it's a nice idea. If rook c4 is not working immediately, it's something to keep in the back of your pocket. So, okay.
But Harikrishna hasn't played a5 yet, so he's clearly taking the other options seriously, whether it's ab or short castles or e5. Well, probably not e5. The b6 pawn will fall. Maybe knight takes e3. How do you even make a decision here? I feel like I would lose on time in this, just in a state of complete analysis paralysis.
Well, this is actually one of the things that you'll often find when a lower rated opponent plays a higher rated one. Not saying that you are, Danya. I'm actually talking from my experience, playing some Grandmaster Norm events, is that you double check and you triple check absolutely every single possibility there is, right? You're like, why are they playing this? Let me go into extreme calculation mode. And what often happens is that you will match the stronger player up until move 25, but then you've burnt too much time on the clock. And before you know it, then you're having to make decisions and time scrambles, and that's when it all goes to waste. So something like that might be happening to Harry Krishna. He's just being extra cautious here, just thinking, what is Gukesh planning? He's a direct player. He's always going to go for very active resolutions. You know, I'm going to calculate a takes b5, make sure that that doesn't work, and then end up playing a5. I don't see anything else. Knight takes bishop doesn't really make so much sense because the knight on f5 is such a good defensive piece.
You've nailed it. He's the world champion. No matter what he plays, just by definition, you're like, okay, he has something up his sleeve. And it reminds me of this quote by Yefim Bogolyubov, one of Alekhine's challengers. Thought very highly of his chess. And he has a quote that goes something like, when I play white, I win because I play 1d4. When I play black, I win because I'm Bogolyubov. Um, there's Faustino Oro, the golden boy. He steals a glance at a game that will result in a hand. A combative draw between Prague and Van Forest. And in the meantime, we get a trade on b5. Hari Krishna throwing us in for a bit of a surprise.
Yeah. Now,
Okay. What is ball?
okay. Well, I guess he wants your plan, Rook C4.
Never
And then
trust
he's saying,
washed up
if I
commentator.
can, if I can distract. Okay, we
Pretty much.
see the moves come in very quickly now, and more trades. Knight takes bishop.
Yep. Knight take, pawn take will happen. Rook c6, defending the pawn on b6. That's what Hari Krishna is aiming. Get moves updating momentarily.
What do you think, Danya, about these trades? I mean, it certainly relieves the tension in the position. So,
I'm confused. I don't like the look of this for Hari Krishna. I don't understand why he didn't play a5. I feel like this gives white a direct target on b6, and b, what is black's next move? Because castles, again, not recommended with a pawn on h5. So even if white plays a move like queen e2, Where's Harikrishna going from here?
Well, I thought presumably it was something to do with knight to f5,
Hmm,
stepping up. Or maybe, hang on. Now, this is really inventive, and I'm not using an engine. So I'm going to go king to d7.
to d7. Fake me out. I thought you were going to go one way. You go the other way. Look for rook
Well, no,
d1.
I wasn't going to go there. I was just live the life in the center, and then rook to c8, and then
Yeah, just try
yeah.
to
But
go.
the
I mean,
problem
knight
is I'm
c8 maybe.
not
It-
defend. No, no. I miscalculated
I don't
because
know.
it would work if I'm very quick with rook c8 and rook c1. But as it is, nope.
Maybe if Harikrishna had played a5, no, maybe if he'd kept the b file closed, then his options would remain open. I was thinking maybe knight f5. That's not it either because this walks right into b4 maybe or rook b1.
Rook
I
b1.
keep forgetting this pawn can just be attacked and picked up and eaten for dinner by Gukesh. You won't even have to go to the pizzeria that all the players like. Not too many dining options in Vaikanze. But 22 minutes for Hari Krishna, and I feel like after a5 he had the practical edge. Now I feel like Gukesh, from a practical standpoint, is in the driver's seat.
Yeah. Um, could it be that he's arguing? Okay, I'm going to put this to you, Daniel. He's simply arguing this: win the b6 pawn, I will win the g6 pawn. So after a move like queen to e2,
Hmm.
rook h6. Now, the gods may later say that this was a mistake, as the evaluation part
Yeah,
is
but I
saying.
mean, it's impossible to, these types of positions, not a single move by the players keep the evaluation part of what it is. I think there's just so many options on every move. But your point is well taken. If you can eliminate this pawn, the king side becomes a safer place to be.
So,
Rook b1
so
maybe.
maybe it might work if you go h5, h4 first, because is white going to play knight to h4? If white's not going to go knight to h4,
Yeah, I mean, I probably will go rook b1 anyway. I think, like, even if you play rook h6, I think Gukesh might be just fully focused on this pawn because once it's captured, I mean, the queen side is abandoned. It's like those $5 homes in a ghost town. Like it's all yours. Push that pawn down the board.
that's true. I give you that. But I was thinking there might be some solace in like rook takes pawn
Hmm.
on g6, and then you can live the life with some pieces defending the king with king f7 or something.
Hmm. And use the king side to counterplay. So,
Yeah.
but let's see what Gukesh decides because queen e2 is I just chose that as a sample move. I mean, queen b3, queen b1. There's a gazillion candidate moves here that make some degree of sense.
That is true.
Yeah.
Gukesh could play very directly and start playing for winning the b6 pawn immediately.
Indeed. We will give him. I mean, he's got time, 26 minutes. Um, I don't think time pressure really, in the players' minds, happens until they hit about 10 minutes. Although it has different definitions depending on who you ask. So maybe a good time to zoom back out to a bird's eye view because we have nonstop development on the other boards. In yeah, rook b8, bishop takes e3, definitely the top candidate move. Now bishop takes e3. If I can, I mean, I can put this on the board. We can wait for Harikrishna's move. What people have to see is this queen b7 idea, setting up the lateral checkmate. Famous example of this type of tactic. Polov missed it in Kramnik in their 2006 World Championship type of pattern. Queen b7, and if you play knight to g7 here, White's position is commanding, but it's not entirely clear cut. Rook e1, queen f4 is the line that I was referring to, and this looks beautiful, BEA beautiful. But when all is said and done, and the checkbooks are balanced, and the and the money is counted. White is not even up a pawn. This is just a draw. So my vote, Yovi, is bishop e3 or rook b8. Anything else
Mhm.
looks too suspect to me.
Mhm.
Do not go.
Um, well, knights are needed to protect the king. I absolutely think that that's one thing that you shouldn't be going for.
Knight e3
Okay,
disappeared.
Harikrishna. He's got time though. He's on 12 minutes.
Arjun, in the meantime, he did capture the rook. Max Warmerdam correctly dropped his queen back to b7. I'm keeping an eye on that game. But Max Warmerdam is one or two accurate moves away from dealing another devastating blow to Arjun. But that's not over
Mhm.
yet either. He's got 7 minutes. But this is where the
Well,
action is at.
right. Maybe we can keep an eye on both games whilst Pentala is thinking. So,
Give it another second. It looks like he's about to move.
okay.
And Jovi, and Paula seems super exasperated. I'm really worried because bishop takes e3 to me. I mean, I'm playing it quickly if I'm him because I'm trying to use Gukesh's clock against him. The more he thinks, the longer Gukesh has to calculate bishop takes e3 and figure out a response.
Mhm.
Some 7, and then apparently there is just a
Ro-
win. I'm trying to figure it out.
It's Rook E8. Rook E1, sorry.
Queen f4 and queen g7. Oh, and
Then,
that one
yes,
works. When it's spotted its prey, it knows that it's faster than its prey. He sees the line.
Dania, he did not see the tack at the end. The sting in the tail that is that after queen to b7, there is this beautiful trick of queen takes g7. Oh,
Um,
and there comes
Here we
queen.
go. Queen. The world champion ain't missing that. And Jovi, what surprises me is even if you don't play rook e1, even a move like a4, I think Harikrishna just hallucinated and forgot that queen f4. He missed the concept of queen takes g7 check. This one is going to end if Gukesh plays rook e1. That's curtains right then and there.
Wow, big moment for Gukesh. With a victory, he will join the leaders there.
I can guarantee you he plays rook e1. I know by his body like that lean back.
This one.
He's played a different move. Actually, not the best. Actually, not
Oh,
the best. The move that won on the spot was knight h4. This ended the game immediately. Cash is down to 50 seconds. He spent all of his time on knight takes g7. Still has to be careful here.
okay. Well, the plan is I assumed it was rook to e7. And then after rook to g8, tie black down.
Yeah, rook to g8 is forced, I think. I mean, knight h4 after a 5-minute think is a move he should have found. But it's easy for me to say. He's found tougher moves than that. He's still completely winning. But black just curls up into a ball and says, okay, now what?
Yeah, now what? That is always the question. And now your knight h4 isn't possible because of queen to f4. And, black only has one active piece, and that's the queen, and that will be enough. Okay, so still some play left here. Maybe we go back to the Argent game. Okay, oh, there we see a quick move. Rook to d7.
Okay. But Cash, I mean, he's left himself playing on increment. I'm still really stunned that he didn't play knight h4. I don't mean to be, Mr. Monday morning quarterback here. There is a beautiful idea, Jovanka. Queen f4, queen takes d5, threatens queen takes h5, and rook h7 mate.
Mm-hmm.
But what you can't do is queen takes g8 and rook d8 checkmate, because it's not. That's not a pawn on g7. It's a knight, and it can clear the g7 square for the black king.
That is true. But the thing is, though, there's still some hope alive for black because you can just still wait. I mean, yeah, it's winning for white, but still some moves left in the position. Although you do have to remember that beautiful trick of yours. Queen takes h5 at the right time and rook h7 checkmate. That is a beautiful one.
Problem is when you can be completely winning, but the longer the game drags on, when you leave yourself with increment to play 4 or 5 moves and your opponent has 10 minutes, you have to be perfect because any mistake you make, Harikrishna can pause and ponder the situation. So queen f4, queen takes d5, black can play f5. He just needs to drag this game out, does Pantala Harikrishna, and try, you know, maybe he gets an opportunity to get his rook in the game. Kesh
Right.
needs to be accurate.
It does, definitely does. And with an active queen, there's still hope. And, maybe a perpetual will be in the books as a miracle resource there for Pentala.
Today, it's currently on g3.
I have a quiz for you. Do you think that knight, the king, will run all the way up to h6?
I know somebody who wants me to vote yes. Jan Timman would want me to vote no. Nigel Short, king h4, king g5, king h6. It is possible to get yourself mated on that square. Oh my gosh, Yobi, but queen
No.
f4, there's knight g5. So let me
Yes,
try to set this up
exactly.
for the
So king
chat.
f4. You got to run for king f4.
Let me just hypothetically show what I'm talking about. Wow, king g5 is like the best move in this position. Oh my gosh. King h6. Look at this. Queen takes first of all, queen e3. There's knight g5 and white went. But if queen takes f3, not only do you have queen takes g8, you can even go queen g7. Look at how beautiful this mate is. And g7. Oh, lovely. I'm a sucker for these patterns.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Daniel, for showing that. That's exactly what I
Thank
had in
you.
mind.
You put this in
You're
my mind. I
welcome.
didn't even think about it, but it's very much in the cards. And you probably don't even need the services of your king. It's done enough. But some incredible patterns whenever you have these pieces clustered together like this and you have a pawn in the vicinity, that means you've got all sorts of shenanigans going on.
Mhm. Yeah. Actually, okay, so how to play and
Yeah.
find the path of most resistance. There's problems here in the sense that the white king is untouchable. But okay, I can think of something. Queen e2.
All right. Mining
I
for
have an
gold.
idea. h4 is my idea. I'm just going to give you an advance warning.
Oh, thank you. I'm perfect. Queen f6. I was, in all fairness, I was gonna go rook e5. That was my instinct. Still h4.
Well, apparently it doesn't work because of king f4.
Oh my gosh. And again, and it's actually realistic. We actually
Yeah,
could get in this scenario. This is the best line. Queen g2 check. And you can play king takes h5, but even better is to go king h6 in amongst the
yeah.
trees. Wait, knight g7. Don't go queen g7. It's mate in 3. Where's the... Oh, rook e8! Another incredible move.
It's
That's
beautiful.
that's that. No matter which way you take. This is wild. I'm actually glad Gukesh didn't find knight h4. He opened the doors to these types of patterns. That's actually why he did it. He felt the commentators didn't get their tactical practice for the day. They need to earn their dough.
But you know something, Danny? I just really want to drum in on one point, and that is the knight on f3 is such a good defender of the white king. Like you can see how it stepped up to f4 and covers The knight covers the d2 square, the h2 square. There was hardly any checks. And in conjunction with the rook, the white king just became a brilliant attacking piece, and there is really nothing that black can do.
Oh, there's a crazy idea that I'm trying to set up, but I can't quite figure out the logistics of it, which is stalemate. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but if you can give away both of your pawns, you've got this idea to go knight f5 and rook takes g6. So I'm trying to set up a scenario where white's queen is ultimately on g6, and you can do the renegade queen. But there's
Mhm.
too many pieces to give up, which is a funny problem to have.
Yeah, you need the white queen to be on f6. So okay, there was an idea that I had, h4.
Uh huh.
Don't take my pawn.
So, okay. So you're using reverse psychology. I see. Wait. So
It
what do you want
doesn't.
me?
Wait, you shouldn't. If you take my pawn, king takes h4, queen f2. Does that not?
Oh, and black wins. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's
That
how
was a
easy it is.
genuine warning.
Oh my gosh. I was it's like, okay, so you want me to take, so it means you don't want me to take, which means I should take. If
I'm
I go
sorry,
the other
Daniel.
way, no, that was awesome.
I had no answer.
That was awesome. If I go the other way, it's amazing black doesn't have any checks. Like there's queen b8 and there's knight h5, but there's no useful check. What if you start with f4 the other way? Then just
Okay,
queen f4. Then just queen
queen
f4
f4.
and
And then
queen
queen
h2.
h6 is coming.
Good. Is there a move here? Does black just resign?
Not sure.
And
Ma-
neither is Harikrishna.
Yeah, okay. Well, Harikrishna does have 45 minutes, though, to enjoy this position. So we're struggling for a move here for black.